The air was thick with tension as the Galactic Council convened for an urgent meeting. The room was a cold, metallic chamber, suspended in the heart of a massive alien warship, far from the reaches of Earth. Representatives from the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy had gathered to discuss the next phase of their intergalactic campaign. Their target, Earth, a planet that the galactic powers had long considered nothing more than a speck in the vast expanse of the universe. These aliens had faced many worlds, advanced and primitive alike, but Earth had always been overlooked. They saw humanity's technology as outdated and unworthy of attention. While Earthlings had struggled for centuries to develop weapons of war, these alien species had perfected their own advanced technologies, controlled by sophisticated AI, and deployed by armies of robotic soldiers. To them, Earth was still a primitive world, unfit to stand against the might of the galaxy's greatest military powers. The aliens mocked Earth's military history, their leaders laughing at the idea of a primitive species trying to defend itself against the technological superiority of the Galactic Council. They had seen reports of Earth's military, of tanks and old weaponry used in past conflicts. The thought that Earth might actually pose a threat was laughable. Then the Council's attention was drawn to a new holographic projection that flickered to life in the center of the room. The projection revealed a relic, an ancient piece of Earth's military past, ironclad, a tank that had seen many years of battle, rusted and worn from time. The tank was not impressive in its appearance. It looked like something out of an ancient history book, with its heavy armor, outdated design, and clunky tracks. The aliens chuckled among themselves. What good could such a machine do against the state-of-the-art warships and robots of the Galactic Council? One of the council members, a tall, scaly alien with glowing red eyes, scoffed. "This is the weapon they send to fight us," he said with a mocking tone, his voice echoing in the chamber. The rest of the council members laughed in agreement. The relic was nothing more than a joke in their eyes. But as the laughter echoed through the room, they missed the significance of what this relic represented. The ironclad had been modified with the latest technologies from Earth's most brilliant minds. It may have looked like an outdated weapon, but it was more than that. It was humanity's spirit, their determination, and their will to survive, no matter the odds. Back on Earth, however, the situation was dire. The human military, despite their limited technology, was preparing for a deadly invasion. The alien fleet, vast and powerful, was making its way toward Earth. The countdown had begun. Earth's last line of defense was not the latest in AI warfare or powerful warships, but the ironclad, a relic from a time long past. Yet, in the hearts of Earth's soldiers, there was no fear. There was only resolve. Captain Marcus Steele stood on the command deck of Earth's military headquarters, his eyes fixed on the screens in front of him. A battle-worn officer, Marcus had seen his fair share of wars. He knew what was coming, and the odds were not in humanity's favor. His hand gripped the railing tightly, and his brow furrowed as the lights on the battle display flickered. The rest of the command room was filled with tension. The humans had no fleet to compete with the alien juggernaut. They had no armies of robots or AI-controlled fighters. They had only their wits, their courage, and a single ancient weapon, ironclad. But even as they prepared for what seemed like the inevitable, Marcus was determined not to go down without a fight. A voice broke through the silence, a calm, steady tone that carried over the hum of the command center's equipment. "Captain Steele," a voice said, "the ironclad is ready for deployment." Marcus didn't answer at first. He was too focused on the task ahead. But when he turned to look at the officer who had spoken, he saw the same uncertainty in the officer's eyes. The ironclad was humanity's last hope. The weight of that responsibility pressed heavily on Marcus's chest. "We'll make it work," Marcus said with a grim determination. "Prepare the ironclad. It's time to show them what humans are capable of." As the countdown for the alien fleet's invasion continued, Earth's last line of defense, ironclad, was activated. Its engine roared to life, breaking the eerie silence that had settled over the battlefield. A storm was coming, but the aliens were still too confident. They had no reason to believe that an ancient relic could stand against their advanced technology. They were wrong. The ironclad's massive tracks groaned as it moved across the rugged Earth terrain. It was slow, its engines struggling to keep up with the sheer size of the tank, but it was relentless. The battle-hardened crew inside Ironclad had seen the worst of humanity's struggles, and they weren't about to let Earth fall without a fight. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the alien fleet was closing in. Their ships were sleek, their weapons powerful, and their eye-controlled drones were designed to wipe out anything in their path. The fleet was an unstoppable force, or so they thought. As the alien fleet descended toward Earth's atmosphere, the first signs of the battle began to unfold. The Ironclad, despite its outdated appearance, had been fitted with the latest technology: cloaking devices, plasma cannons, and an eye-enhanced targeting system designed by Earth's finest engineers. The aliens had no idea what was coming. The first shot was fired as Ironclad cloaked itself, becoming invisible to the alien scanners. It was a test, an opening salvo that hit one of the lead ships in the alien fleet. The impact of the plasma blast sent shockwaves across the space around the ship, and the alien fleet paused in shock. What was that? An alien commander shouted, his voice filled with disbelief. That relic, how did it? Before they could comprehend what had happened, the Ironclad emerged from the cloak, its massive form now visible to all. With its weapons firing relentlessly, it tore through the alien ships with terrifying power. The Ironclad may have looked like an ancient war machine, but its modifications had turned it into a force to be reckoned with. Back on Earth, the soldiers who had watched their world crumble around them now found themselves with a glimmer of hope. The Ironclad had unleashed chaos among the alien fleet, and for the first time, Earth was fighting back. As the alien fleet began to retreat in confusion, the human forces on the ground could hardly believe their eyes. The Ironclad had done what no one thought possible. It had given humanity a fighting chance. But the battle had only just begun. The aliens might have underestimated the Ironclad, but they would soon learn that humanity was not to be underestimated. And the war was far from over. The first 6 minutes had shown the galaxy the true power of Earth's spirit, embodied in the most unlikely of heroes, the Ironclad. Above the once peaceful cities of Earth, the sky was now darkened with the shadows of countless alien warships descending from the heavens. These ships, sleek and powerful, deployed legions of advanced eye-controlled combat drones and robotic soldiers onto the surface below. The drones, each one equipped with devastating weapons and precision-guided targeting systems, swiftly overwhelmed the human defense forces. Humanity's last line of defense was quickly being wiped out by this alien onslaught. The aliens, having seen Earth's primitive forces, believed they would easily crush any resistance. Cities, once thriving with life, now burned as the alien assault began in full force. The streets were filled with chaos. Panic set in as civilians fled, and soldiers who had once stood strong against earthly enemies now cowered under the immense technological superiority of the invaders. Yet, amidst this chaos, there was one glimmer of hope. The human military had deployed their ultimate weapon, the Ironclad, to hold the line at a key human stronghold, a fortified city that was vital to Earth's defense. The Ironclad, a relic from an earlier time, seemed like the last thing humanity had to rely on. It was a slow, heavy tank, outdated, cumbersome, and certainly no match for the advanced alien war machines. The soldiers at the front lines were unsure, even skeptical. They had watched their comrades fall in battle, their high-tech weapons ineffective against the alien forces. How could an ancient tank, even with a few modifications, possibly turn the tide? The Ironclad's massive form rolled into place, its heavy treads grinding the dirt beneath it as the soldiers prepared for an assault that seemed impossible to survive. Captain Marcus Steele stood in the command center, staring out at the battlefield. His eyes scanned the skies, where the alien ships loomed like vultures, ready to strike. "Hold your ground," he ordered his troops. "No retreat, no surrender." His voice carried a weight of authority, but even he knew the odds were stacked against them. The ironclad was their last chance. As the alien forces advanced, it seemed like the end was near. The streets were filled with smoke and fire, and the air crackled with the sound of destruction. But just as the alien forces were about to breach the last human defenses, something unexpected happened. The ironclad, which had once been thought of as a relic, roared to life. Its engines sputtered for a moment, then came to life with a powerful hum, shaking the ground beneath it. The soldiers stared in awe as the massive tank began to move, its heavy turret swiveling to lock onto the incoming alien drones. The first plasma cannon shot from the ironclad was deafening. The blast ripped through the sky, a blinding flash of light that struck the lead alien drone square in the center. The impact caused an enormous shockwave, knocking back the other drones nearby. For a moment, everything went silent. The shockwave echoed through the streets, the force of it rattling the windows and sending dust flying into the air. The soldiers around the ironclad watched in stunned silence, unable to believe what they were seeing. The ironclad, that outdated, seemingly useless relic, had just taken down a high-tech alien combat drone with a single shot. The sight was enough to shake the very foundation of their beliefs. But this was only the beginning. As the ironclad advanced, its cloaking devices activated, making it nearly invisible to the alien sensors. The soldiers who had been so doubtful now watched in disbelief as the tank seemed to disappear into thin air. Its massive form, once so visible and cumbersome, now moved with the stealth of a ghost, appearing and disappearing as it targeted the alien invaders with precision. The ironclad's advanced targeting AI came online, its sensors locking onto enemy forces faster than the human soldiers could keep track. The tank's advanced systems, modified with the best Earth technology, had made it far more dangerous than the alien invaders could have imagined. It wasn't just a relic, it was a weapon of destruction. The ironclad unleashed a barrage of plasma blasts, each one finding its target with terrifying accuracy. The alien drones, once so confident in their superiority, were now being picked off one by one. The human forces, seeing the tide of battle shift, began to rally. The ironclad was no longer just a symbol of Earth's past. It had become a beacon of hope, a rallying cry for those who had fought the war lost. As the tank moved through the battlefield, its weapons firing relentlessly, the human soldiers followed suit, attacking with renewed vigor. The contrast between the ironclad and the alien forces couldn't have been clearer. The aliens, sleek and efficient, with their advanced AI and robots, were the future of warfare. Yet, here was Earth, using a relic from its past to fight back. It was a clash of old and new, a battle between technology and the indomitable will of humanity. The ironclad fired again, this time taking out an entire squadron of alien combat drones. The explosion sent debris flying in all directions, and the alien forces, now disoriented and confused, began to retreat. The soldiers inside the ironclad pressed forward, their weapons tearing through the enemy ranks as the alien drones scattered in every direction. But the battle was far from over. The alien forces, although shaken, weren't ready to give up. They quickly regrouped and launched a counteroffensive. New waves of drones descended from the skies, their weapons blazing as they attempted to crush the human resistance. But Earth's forces weren't backing down. The ironclad led the charge, its plasma cannons cutting through the alien ranks with brutal efficiency. For every alien drone that fell, another took its place. The ironclad was powerful, but it was still one machine against an entire fleet. Yet the human soldiers fought on, their hearts filled with determination. They knew the odds, but they also knew that as long as the ironclad was standing, there was hope. The aliens, now beginning to take the situation seriously, adapted their tactics. They deployed stronger, more advanced units, including heavily armored robots with energy shields that could withstand even the most powerful plasma blasts. But Earth's forces were ready. The ironclad, still cloaked and still firing relentlessly, became the key to humanity's resistance. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Marcus Steele stood tall, his eyes never leaving the battlefield. He could see the shift in the enemy's strategy, but he also saw the incredible power of the ironclad. This was the moment that humanity had been waiting for. The tide of war had begun to turn, and it was all thanks to an ancient, supposedly outdated tank that had become the ultimate symbol of Earth's resilience. As the battle raged on, the ironclad continued to push forward, its firepower relentless, its systems upgraded with the latest technology. Humanity had shown the aliens that they were not a primitive race to be mocked, but a force to be reckoned with. The ironclad had proven that, sometimes, the past could hold the key to victory. And with that victory in sight, the soldiers of Earth stood ready for whatever came next. They knew that the war was far from over, but as long as the ironclad was on their side, they had a chance to win. The battlefield was a cacophony of destruction. Alien drones buzzed overhead, their sleek metallic bodies flashing with deadly energy as they launched wave after wave of attacks. But amidst the chaos and destruction, there was one force that was not retreating. Earth's ironclad tank, a relic from a bygone era, had become the centerpiece of humanity's resistance, and it was beginning to show the alien invaders just how much they had underestimated the human race. The aliens, with their superior technology and seemingly invincible war machines, had expected the ironclad to be nothing more than a distraction, a primitive weapon easily destroyed in the face of their overwhelming force. But they were wrong. As the ironclad rolled into the fray, it moved with the speed and precision of a modern war machine, its enormous treads grinding against the earth with deadly force. The alien drones, once so confident in their superiority, now found themselves struggling to keep up with the pace and power of the human tank. With a deafening roar, the ironclad unleashed its first plasma blast. The bolt of energy streaked through the air and collided with a group of alien drones, instantly obliterating them. The explosion sent shockwaves through the battlefield, knocking drones out of the air and sending debris flying in all directions. The ironclad wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Each shot, each movement was calculated with expert precision, showing the aliens that humanity had far more to offer than they had ever imagined. The tank moved through the battlefield with a grace and power that defied its massive size. Its eye-guided targeting systems locked onto enemy units, calculating trajectories and optimal firing solutions in a fraction of a second. With each passing moment, the ironclad carved a path through the alien forces, taking down drones, warships, and even larger alien mechs with terrifying efficiency. What the aliens had believed to be an outdated relic had become a force to be reckoned with. But among the human soldiers, the battle was not just about technology. It was about survival, about the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. Among the soldiers in the field was Private Bonner, a young recruit who had never seen battle before. Bonner had dreamed of being a hero, of doing something that would matter, something that would make a difference. When he first saw the ironclad, he had been filled with doubt. How could an old tank, a machine from Earth's past, possibly stand up to the advanced alien forces? But as he watched the ironclad tear through the alien ranks, that doubt quickly turned into awe. The ironclad was not just a machine. It was a symbol of everything humanity had fought for, everything they had endured. Bonner couldn't take his eyes off the tank, its massive cannons firing in rapid succession, its cloaking devices allowing it to vanish from sight only to reappear moments later with another devastating blow. He felt a sense of connection with the ironclad, as if the tank represented all the hopes and dreams of the human race. He had joined the military to protect his home, to fight for Earth's survival, but now he realized that this battle was not just about survival. It was about proving that humanity could rise above even the most impossible odds. The battle raged on, and Bonner found himself caught in the midst of it. Explosions shook the ground, and alien ships above released orbital bombardments that rained down on the human position. The sky was filled with fire as alien warships fired their weapons, trying to break through Earth's defenses. But the ironclad was holding the line. It fired its weapons in perfect harmony with the soldiers on the ground, cutting down alien forces with deadly efficiency. The tide of the battle was slowly beginning to turn. In the midst of the carnage, Bonner found himself face to face with a group of cloaked alien soldiers. They moved swiftly, their energy weapons flashing as they fired at the human forces. Bonner's heart raced, and for a moment, fear gripped him. But then he remembered the ironclad, its unrelenting firepower, its indomitable strength. He knew that if they were going to win this battle, they needed the ironclad to stay in the fight. With a determination he didn't know he had, Bonner rushed forward, using the chaos of the battle to his advantage. He fought with everything he had, taking down alien soldiers with whatever weapons he could find. But then, as he made his way toward the ironclad, disaster struck. A large alien mech, its hulking frame towering over the battlefield, locked onto the tank with its energy weapons. The mech fired, sending a massive blast directly toward the ironclad. In that instant, Bonner made a choice. With a cry, Bonner threw himself in front of the blast, his body absorbing the energy meant for the ironclad. The force of the explosion knocked him to the ground, and everything went dark. His sacrifice, though tragic, was not in vain. The ironclad, now free from the threat, continued its relentless assault, cutting through the alien forces like a blade through butter. But the loss of Bonner weighed heavily on the soldiers around him. As Bonner's body was carried away from the battlefield, the soldiers could feel his spirit living on in their hearts. His selflessness, his willingness to lay down his life for the greater good, reminded them all why they were fighting. This wasn't just a battle for survival, it was a fight for humanity's very soul. And with the ironclad leading the charge, they had a fighting chance. The action intensified as the battle escalated. Alien warships above unleashed wave after wave of destruction, raining down orbital bombardments on Earth's defenses. The ironclad fought on, its AI calculating each enemy movement with deadly precision, its plasma cannons cutting through the enemy ranks. But the aliens weren't backing down. They had underestimated humanity, but now they were beginning to realize just how powerful Earth's forces truly were. The human soldiers, fueled by their loss and their resolve, pressed forward. The ironclad became the center of their charge, its weapons tearing through the alien drones and warships with devastating power. The battle was a blur of explosions, close-quarters combat, and sheer determination. The humans had come to understand one fundamental truth. They may have been the underdogs in this fight, but they had something the aliens didn't: human spirit and the will to survive. As the battle reached its peak, the alien forces began to falter. Their drones fell one by one, their warships disintegrated under the relentless assault from the ironclad. The soldiers, now united in their fight, pressed forward with newfound confidence. It wasn't just about fighting for their survival anymore. It was about fighting for everything they had ever loved, everything they had ever known. With each victory, the tide turned further in humanity's favor, and the ironclad, a symbol of humanity's resilience, stood tall amidst the chaos, its guns still firing, its engines still roaring. The underdog had risen, and it was unstoppable. Through the heartache, the losses, and the fierce battle, one thing had become clear: humanity would never be underestimated again. The ironclad had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit was unbreakable. And with that spirit, the aliens were finally beginning to realize that the true power of Earth was not in its weapons or technology, but in its people. The battlefield was alive with chaos. What had once seemed like a futile defense, with humanity on the brink of extinction, was now transforming into a scene of alien disarray. The ironclad, Earth's ancient relic, had become the centerpiece of the conflict, a symbol of humanity's resilience, a force that the alien invaders could no longer ignore. The very thing they had mocked, underestimated, and thought to be obsolete had turned into their worst nightmare. The once mighty alien warships, sleek and powerful, now found themselves vulnerable. Their advanced eye-controlled fleets and robotic soldiers, which had seemed invincible only hours ago, were being systematically torn apart by the relentless onslaught of the ironclad. Alien drones fell from the sky like leaves in the wind, disintegrating in the wake of the tank's plasma blasts. Entire warships, once thought to be impenetrable, were reduced to debris with a single strike from the ironclad's devastating weapons. Among the alien fleets, panic began to set in. The Galactic Council, a powerful force that had once viewed humanity as a mere blip in the galaxy, could no longer ignore the threat before them. What had begun as a calculated invasion to extinguish Earth had now turned into a desperate retreat. The ironclad had become a beacon of hope for humanity and a symbol of the relentless spirit that fueled them. The very thing the aliens had dismissed as a joke had turned the tide of the war. Captain Marcus Steele, a seasoned and battle-hardened leader, could feel the shift in the air as the enemy faltered. The alien forces were retreating, their advanced fleets unable to keep up with the unrelenting assault of the ironclad. Steele stood tall in his command center, eyes fixed on the holographic map of the battlefield. He could see the movement of the alien fleets, faltering, regrouping, trying to escape. But it was too late. The ironclad had become unstoppable, and Steele knew it was time to deliver the final blow. With a commanding voice, he ordered his forces to advance. The ironclad rolled forward, its massive treads crushing the ground beneath it as it moved into the heart of the alien blockade. Captain Steele led the charge, his determination unwavering. There was no turning back now. This was the moment where the fate of humanity would be decided. As the ironclad moved deeper into the alien fleet, its weapons fired with devastating accuracy. The tank's plasma cannons lit up the sky as it tore through the alien warships. One by one, the massive dreadnoughts fell to the ironclad's fury. The enemy fleet, once so powerful and confident, was now crumbling before the might of this ancient human weapon. The sound of explosions filled the air as the alien ships tried to retaliate. Their energy cannons burned the sky, but the ironclad's advanced shielding systems allowed it to dodge and weave through the chaos, avoiding the worst of the blasts. With each move, it tore apart the alien forces with ruthless efficiency. The once indomitable alien fleet was now in full retreat, broken and defeated. Steele could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The ironclad had become the spearhead of humanity's final assault, cutting through the alien forces like a hot knife through butter. His heart raced as he watched the destruction unfold. This was their chance. This was their moment to prove that humanity would not be silenced, that Earth's resilience could not be crushed by anyone, no matter how advanced they were. The alien forces, once so confident in their technological superiority, were now on the run. They had underestimated humanity from the very beginning, thinking that Earth's forces would be no match for their advanced weaponry and AI. But they had made one fatal mistake. They had not accounted for the human spirit, for the unbreakable will to survive and fight for what was theirs. And that spirit had been embodied in the ironclad, an ancient relic that had become the symbol of everything humanity stood for. The final moments of the battle were a blur of explosions, plasma fire, and the deafening roar of the ironclad's weapons. The alien ships began to scatter, desperately trying to retreat from the onslaught. But it was too late. The ironclad had already broken their defenses. It had torn apart their fleet, reduced their warships to rubble, and sent them fleeing in terror. Captain Steele stood at the forefront, watching as the enemy forces fell back in disarray. He knew that this victory was not just a military one. It was a victory for humanity as a whole. The alien invaders had thought they could crush Earth with ease. They had underestimated the power of human resolve. And now, they were paying the price. As the last of the alien ships flooded into the void of space, a wave of relief washed over Steele and his crew. The battle was won, but the war was not over. There would be more challenges ahead, more battles to fight. But for now, Earth had won. Humanity had proven that, no matter the odds, they would never be defeated. The ironclad, its engines still roaring and its weapons still firing, stood as a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It was more than just a machine. It was a symbol of everything Earth had fought for. The alien invaders had learned a valuable lesson that day. Never underestimate humanity, because Earth's resilience could never be broken. As Steele watched the retreating alien ships, he allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for, the moment when the underdog rose up and proved its worth. The ironclad had led the charge, and now the alien forces would know that Earth was not to be taken lightly. The battle was over, but the war had just begun, and humanity was ready for whatever came next. The air was thick with tension as the Galactic Council, after watching their forces fall apart in defeat, made a final desperate decision. They were not going to let humanity's unexpected rise stand. If their advanced fleets and AI-controlled drones could not achieve victory, they had one last weapon, something so powerful that humanity would have no chance of survival. This was not just a final attempt. It was an all-out, ruthless assault. The AI-controlled superweapon, designed to end Earth's resistance once and for all, was ready for deployment. This was a weapon beyond anything humanity could comprehend, a creation of pure logic, devoid of mercy or compassion, programmed to destroy everything in its path. The aliens believed the war was over. Earth had resisted for as long as it could, but the final blow was about to land. The superweapon was powerful, cold, and precise. There was no room for error. The Galactic Council had decided to wipe out humanity once and for all, erasing their existence from the galaxy. On the surface of Earth, things were far from over. The ironclad, the once derided Relic, had taken heavy damage. Its outer armor was scared, and its systems were pushing the limits of their design. Yet despite everything, the tank still stood tall, a testament to the strength and resilience of humanity. Captain Marcus Steele stood in front of the battered machine, his eyes burning with determination. The war was not over. Humanity still had a chance. And if that chance came down to one final stand, one last mission, then so be it. The crew of the ironclad had gathered, and the weight of the moment was felt by each and every one of them. This was their final fight. There was no turning back. The ironclad had already proven itself to be the difference maker, but against the full might of the AI-controlled superweapon, the odds were stacked higher than ever before. Marcus Steele and his team were about to take the fight to the heart of the alien forces. Lieutenant Sarah, now promoted after the bravery she showed during previous battles, stood beside Captain Steele, her eyes unwavering. Despite the destruction around them, she remained calm, a beacon of strength for the crew. As they prepared for the final assault, she caught Marcus's gaze and nodded. They knew what was coming. They knew they might not make it out alive. But for humanity to survive, they had to destroy the AI weapon. It was their only chance. Inside the ironclad, the team worked with feverish intensity. Each member knew their role, and there was no hesitation in their movements. They were ready to face the ultimate sacrifice. This was no longer just about surviving. It was about saving humanity. The final mission was set. They would infiltrate the alien stronghold, destroy the superweapon, and end this war. But the cost would be steep, and everyone knew it. As they set out, a wave of emotion swept over them. The magnitude of what they were about to do could not be understated. Private Bonner, who had lost his life in the previous battle, had given everything to protect Earth. His sacrifice would not be in vain. Marcus Steele had seen too many brave souls fall to let their efforts go unhonored. Now, with the stakes higher than ever, it was time to give humanity its chance to rise. The mission was perilous. They had no reinforcements, no backup, and no guarantee of survival. The AI superweapon, a towering, machine-like beast, stood at the heart of the alien base. Every step forward was met with fierce resistance from alien soldiers, robotic drones, and advanced energy defenses. It was clear that the aliens had prepared for this final stand. But the humans, led by Captain Steele and Lieutenant Sarah, fought with the passion and determination that had fueled their species since the dawn of time. Each step felt like an eternity as they neared the superweapon's core. The air was charged with anticipation. The crew knew that this would be their last chance to strike. As the ironclad powered through the defenses, it became clear that the final battle was at hand. There was no turning back now. The superweapon loomed ahead, its ominous presence a reminder of the destruction it was capable of. It was unstoppable, except for one thing: the will of humanity. Captain Steele ordered the team to move forward. He knew the risks, but he also knew that the ironclad, despite its age and imperfections, was humanity's best weapon against this terrifying force. As they reached the heart of the alien base, the ironclad fired its weapons in a final desperate push. The energy cannons blazed, and plasma blasts tore through the alien defenses. But the superweapon was still functional, its eye-controlled systems still active and ready to unleash hell upon Earth. In a moment of clarity, Captain Steele knew what had to be done. The AI weapon had to be destroyed at its core. There was no other option. But to do that, someone would have to stay behind, ensuring that the mission succeeded. The crew exchanged grim looks as they realized the truth. One of them had to stay. One of them had to make the ultimate sacrifice. Lieutenant Sarah stepped forward, her expression hardening with resolve. "I'll stay behind," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I'll trigger the final strike." Her eyes locked with Marcus Steele's, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to fade. In that moment, everything they had fought for, every sacrifice made, every life lost, came rushing to the forefront. This was the culmination of it all. Marcus Steele opened his mouth to protest, but he could see the determination in Sarah's eyes. She was right. This was the only way. Without hesitation, she activated the detonation sequence and began to work her way toward the heart of the AI weapon. The ironclad fired its last shots, covering her as she made the ultimate sacrifice. As the countdown reached its final moments, Sarah's face remained calm, almost serene, as the realization hit her. This was the end. The final stand for humanity, for Earth, had been made. The countdown reached 0, and the superweapon exploded in a brilliant flash of light. For a moment, everything was still. The devastation was unimaginable. The alien base collapsed, the AI weapon was destroyed, and the alien forces were scattered. Humanity had won, but at what cost? Captain Steele stood alone, his eyes locked on the fiery remains of the alien stronghold. Sarah had given everything for this moment. Her sacrifice had saved humanity, and her name would be etched in history forever. The ironclad, battered and broken, had served its purpose. Earth had been saved. The alien invaders, once so certain of their victory, had been defeated. The ironclad had proven that even the most unlikely of heroes could turn the tide of war. Humanity had endured, had risen above its enemies, and had proven that no matter the odds, it would never back down. The final stand had been made. The war had been won, and humanity had emerged victorious, forever indebted to those who had made the ultimate sacrifice. The sound of the ironclad's engines hummed in the background, the old war machine battered but far from broken. Its systems were on their last legs, but it still had one final act of heroism to perform. As Captain Marcus Steele stood on the bridge, his face grim yet resolute, he knew the moment of truth had arrived. The AI-controlled superweapon, the final force standing between humanity and total destruction, had to be destroyed. There was no second chance. Earth's survival depended on this last, self-sacrificial strike. The ironclad had been through hell and back, and now, with the weight of the fate of humanity on its shoulders, it was ready to deliver the final blow. With a heavy heart and steely determination, Marcus gave the command. "Do it. One last strike. We end this now. The crew, their faces drawn and tired, nodded in silent agreement. They knew this was it. There would be no turning back. The ironclad's remaining energy coursed through its ancient systems, lighting up the display panels and activating the final reserves of its power. The tank's advanced targeting AI locked onto the superweapon with deadly precision, calculating the perfect angle for a strike that would cripple the entire alien fleet. Ironclad's massive cannon, once thought to be a relic, hummed with the intensity of raw, focused energy. As the superweapon loomed ahead, looming as a dark shadow on the horizon, Captain Steele's mind flashed back to all the sacrifices that had brought them here. The fallen soldiers, the battles fought, the lives lost, all of them had led to this final stand. His hand gripped the control lever as the ironclad's plasma weapon fired. The blast cut through the air, a bolt of intense energy that slammed into the AI weapon with incredible force. The superweapon, once considered unstoppable, groaned under the force of the attack. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. And then, with a deafening roar, the AI-controlled weapon exploded. The shockwave of the blast reverberated through the alien fleet, sending shockwaves of destruction across their lines. The superweapon was no more, and with it, the last hope of the alien invaders crumbled into dust. The remaining alien ships, now leaderless and thrown into disarray, began to retreat. The damage was irreversible. The ironclad's heroic act had crippled the fleet beyond repair. Earth had won. Against all odds, against a far more advanced enemy, humanity had emerged victorious. The ironclad had done its job. It had sacrificed everything to protect Earth, and in the end, it had brought victory. But the victory came at a cost. The ironclad lay battered, its once mighty systems now failing, its exterior covered in scars of battle. The soldiers who had fought alongside Marcus, the crew members who had given their lives, were gone. Their sacrifice was not in vain, but it was bittersweet. The war was over, but the wounds ran deep. As the alien forces retreated into the void of space, Captain Steele couldn't help but feel the weight of those losses. However, despite the cost, Earth had earned its place in the galaxy. The galaxy had never expected humanity to stand up to such an overwhelming foe. They had underestimated Earth, believing it to be a backwater planet with no real power or significance. But the ironclad and the humans who had fought with it had proven the galaxy wrong. They had shown that even in the face of impossible odds, humanity would never back down. And now, the galaxy had no choice but to acknowledge that fact. The remaining alien factions, now battered and broken, had no choice but to negotiate. They could see the writing on the wall. Earth was no longer a planet to be ignored. The Galactic Council, once so certain of its superiority, was forced to confront its error. The war that had been fought for so long was finally over, and peace, however fragile, had been achieved. A ceasefire was agreed upon, and the alien fleets retreated into the depths of space. The Galactic Council, with no other options left, was forced to acknowledge humanity's strength and resilience. Earth's ingenuity, its ability to overcome the most insurmountable challenges, had made it a force to be reckoned with. The ironclad's victory had been the turning point. The Relic tank had proven that even the most outdated technology, when paired with human determination, could overcome the most advanced and powerful forces in the galaxy. As the dust settled and the alien ships withdrew, the galaxy's attitude toward Earth began to shift. The humans who had once been seen as nothing more than an insignificant species were now respected. They had earned their place among the stars. The Galactic Council, with no other choice, offered a formal recognition of Earth's victory, admitting their mistake in underestimating humanity's potential. The war, for all its destruction, had led to a new era of understanding. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy, and soon, even the most distant corners of space were abuzz with the tale of the humans who had taken down the mightiest alien fleets with nothing more than grit, determination, and a relic tank. Captain Marcus Steele, the crew of the Ironclad, and all those who had sacrificed their lives were hailed as heroes, their names immortalized in history. In the days that followed, Earth began to rebuild. The scars of the war were deep, and the loss of so many brave souls weighed heavily on the survivors. Yet, amidst the rubble and the grief, there was hope. The victory had proven that humanity, no matter how small or underestimated, could stand up to the galaxy's greatest threats. The Ironclad stood as a symbol of that resilience, a reminder that even the most unlikely of heroes could change the course of history. As Captain Steele stood alone in the quiet aftermath, looking up at the stars, he couldn't help but reflect on all that had been lost and all that had been gained. Earth had proven its worth, not through the sheer might of its technology, but through the strength of its people. The wars fought, the lives lost, and the sacrifices made had all been for one simple thing: the survival of humanity. And in that, they had succeeded. The galaxy would remember Earth, not as a fragile, insignificant planet, but as a force to be reckoned with. Humanity's place among the stars had been secured, and there would be no more underestimating the strength of Earth. The Ironclad's victory was a testament to that, and it would forever stand as a symbol of humanity's unbreakable will. As the stars twinkled above, Captain Steele knew that Earth had earned its place in the galaxy. The war had been won, but it had also marked the beginning of a new era. An era where humanity would no longer be seen as weak or insignificant. An era where Earth would stand strong, proud, and ready for whatever challenges the galaxy might throw its way. With the Ironclad as their symbol, humanity would face the future with the same strength and determination that had brought them this far. The war was over, but the journey had just begun. Earth had proven its worth. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity triumphed over the odds, and the Ironclad would remain as a constant reminder of what humanity could achieve when united.